Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of TCG Talk, back today with another video. And in today's video we're going to be going over the Majestics and Legendaries for the Rosetta set. We finally got all the cards spoiled yesterday and they have finally been uploaded to February. Philip and his team are doing an amazing job. So we're going to go over them so you can get them all in one place since they were all scattered yesterday. And have a good time. So yeah, if you're new to the channel, welcome. Thank you so much for stopping by. If you're a long-standing supporter, thank you so much as always. Feel free to check out the Discord down below. I think we have almost 600 members now. It's gonna be super fun talking about this set. I'm super interested in the wizard side of this set, and I'm gonna be building a Cilio and verdance. So we'll be having fun with that, as well as like continuing with Katsu and other stuff. So definitely check that out. If you want to support the channel a different way, I normally don't promote it outside of more in a sentence, but the channel membership is down below. It's a cool way to support the channel. Anything I receive through the channel either goes into product for like videos, or it most time is help. I put it in a separate like fund for events and stuff like that. So anyway, we'll get right into this. One thing is cool. I wanted to do a side note before I get into these cards. On February, I didn't know you could do this, but if you like, you know how you normally have all these filters and you can say Majestic and Rosetta. Well, if you or Majestic, if you put Majestic in quotes and then you do greater than or equal to and then quote Majestic after the R and then Rosetta, it'll show you everything Majestic and above. Like, it makes sense, but I just didn't know February did this. So it's really cool if you want to get all the cards in one place and look at them for yourself. So we're gonna go through most of the cards that were spoiled, because since they were all being shown via people's pictures yesterday, sometimes it was hard to kind of get a grasp of what all had been shown. So we'll kind of go through it here. So we have the first one is Will of Arcana. Now, when it comes to the Fableds, like, we have the old school ones that are just really good, right? Like Heart of Fiendal, Eye of Ophidia, but the new age Fableds, I like to call them, basically since Uprising, in my opinion, with the gym, I think that Fableds have moved towards a thematic part of the set of whatever it may be, and it's less so about is the card playable and good, and more so about, you know, is it like, you know, the centerpiece of the thematics and the overall feeling of the set. And so I really look for that in Fableds, and this one is really good for that. Will of Arcana Legendary, when this is pitched, amp 1, you know, being able to, all 4 heroes technically can use this pretty effectively, right? Like, all 4 heroes are going to be dealing arcane, since this is an all arcane set in a way. And it being a blue is nice, right? You can pitch it for a blue, which is also good for all the heroes. I don't know. I think this card's not like an auto include in every deck, right? It's just amp 1, pitch a blue, but I feel like it's not too bad. I mean, if you pitch this, you know, into another amp effect, then all of a sudden you're doubling up your stuff while also getting resources. So I think it's really cool. And this card in Cold Full, I saw a picture of it, is so awesome, because all of these I guess runes type things are all in Cold Full, so it's a sick looking card. So I'm really excited about that one. When it comes to other cards we haven't gone over yet, we have Thistle Bloom and Life. I don't think I've gone over this one. Create X rune chant tokens, where X is the total life you've gained this turn, and then also the instant size game 1. Doesn't cost anything to play, so you can play both sides without any resources, which is really powerful. This is, you know, when you first look at this card, you think it's a verdance card. You think it's a Earth Wizard, right? Like late game verdance. No, it's a Florian card, Runeblade Earth. So this potentially is pointing to the OTK Florian build that they were talking about, with, you know, being able to create a lot of rune chants, gain life, and then hit someone later on in the game. So that's really cool. Really excited to see where this one goes. I think this goes in most decks. I mean, at worst, this is create a rune chant, gain a life for 0 resources, which isn't insane, but it is a block 3 and it is a yellow pitch. So, you know, you can pitch it if you need to for grasp or something like that. So I think it's a really good card. It's probably going to be in most Florian decks that you see. The next one is Vaporized Shock. This one's really interesting. This one falls in the same spot as Null Shock to me. It's a good card, but it's only good in certain heroes, right? So you have it's a 0 cost Runeblade Lightning instant, so it's for Aurora. So it doesn't cost anything to play both sides. Destroy an aura permanent with cost X or less and or up to X aura tokens, where X is the total arcane damage you've dealt to an opposing hero this turn. So you can really like destroy someone's board. This is good into like Prism or someone that has aura based, like auras that don't die off of damage, right? It could be good into a Cilio. It'd be good into the mirror if you have that right, or anybody else that's running auras. But overall, like, this card's very situational. If you're not playing a hero that cares about auras, then this card's just kind of not that good. It's literally a 0 cost 1 arcane ping, which isn't that big a deal, but it also doesn't block. So this card's very situational. I don't think this card gets played a lot unless we see a lot of like some type of aura based build running around that's very meta prevalent, right? Rampant Growth and Life is probably the best Majestic meld we have, in my opinion. It is a verdance card, Amp X, where X is the total number of life you've gained this turn, and gain 1 life. Doesn't cost anything to play, and it's both of them are instants. So the one thing about verdance, and I haven't workshopped this card a lot, right? So I'm not going to sit here and try to make some like crazy line off the spot, but the one thing that verdance, at least at first glance, seems like is she's going to play very similar to Icelander, where she's just trying to outvalue you, right? Like, she's using these Decompose effects to get slightly overrated attacks, and then once she turns on her ability, she's potentially, like, you know, making embodiment earth tokens with the chess piece, which we'll go over here in a second. So she's getting good blocks. She's doing slightly overrated attacks by like 1 value, potentially most of the time. She has a little bit of disruption with her arsenal and plow under, and then also fell into the crown with the hand. And then she's pinging you, right? If you're not willing to pitch to that arcane, she's going to be pinging you as she's gaining life. So she's just this incremental value hero. But the one thing I've been wanting to know about verdance is, like, how is she going to finish games against heroes that can block effectively and can pitch to arcane effectively and are okay with that, right? Like, she doesn't have a natural weapon that deals damage. So, you know, she's going to need ways to close out games. Like, what is her Ice Eternal? What is her Frost Hex? Right, and I think cards like this potentially could be something like that, right? If you can gain like 5 to 10 life in a turn and then play this into like a spell, potentially, right? Like, you know, it's obviously a Christmas line, but if you can play like Sigil of Solace, play this, you know, you've gained 7 life, you amp 7, and then you come in with a 0 cost spell for like 10. I don't know, like, that's like the most normal weird line, but something along those lines to where this can help close out games, I want to see with verdance. So I'm excited about that. Sigil of Brilliance we went over before. It's a really good card for Cilio. It's going to do some really dumb stuff, and we'll talk about that in a future video probably. Bearskin of the Millennium Tree is very good in both Florian and Verdance. I think Verdance uses this even more effectively than Florian does, unless Florian's doing the late game build. Because with Florian, he has access to what? Dyadic Carapace, Ether Ironweave, or Tunic. And I think this card, if you're playing a more mid to late game Florian build, is just better because this essentially blocks for 5 in total if you have its effect turned on, because it blocks for 2, gives you Embodiment of Earth, which is +1 value on another block. Then it blocks for, you know, 1, gives you Embodiment of Earth, which gives you another value. So it potentially can block for up to 5 for the most part, which is really, really good. It does have temper, so it will go away eventually. But I think this card's really good. And in Verdance, this card's even better because, I mean, her other options are what? Tunic, pretty much. Like, everything else is generic. Wizard doesn't have much of crazy good chess pieces. Like, you're not going to run Spellfray Cloak, I don't think, in Verdance. So it's either this or Tunic. And I think this is really, really good. Then we come to Verdance and Florian. Both of these cards are extremely good in them. Felling of the Crown we've gone over. If there are 4 more cards, Earth cards in your banish zone, this gets +4, so it becomes a 3 for 8. If you've, you know, even have, you know, if you even can get this online, it becomes really good because when this attacks, you may banish 2 Earth cards and an action card, which also can be an Earth card, from your graveyard. If you do, each hero puts a card from their hand on the bottom of their deck. So if you play this off a 2-card hand and you don't have anything else in your hand to this card, you basically force your opponent to get rid of a card for no reason. And you get a lot of value off of that. Same thing with Plow Under, but with the Arsenal. You know, if you don't have an Arsenal yet, right? Like, you're going to Arsenal at the end of your turn. This allows you to have some Arsenal hate, and both these cards block 3. I think, and the good thing about their top sections is they're constantly checking. So if when you play the card, you don't have 4 in your banish, but then the card's Decompose effect gets 4 in your banish, then you'll turn on their +4 abilities. So both of those cards are pretty much auto includes, in my opinion, in both Verdance and Florian. I don't know why you wouldn't run them unless you're running like some very different build that's doing a completely different game plan. Channel Millennium Tree, I wanted to come back to this card. This card, when it first was revealed, I was like, oh, okay, this is how Verdance is probably looking to play. She's the arcane, you know, Channel Mount Heroic build, but this card's not even as good as Channel Mount Heroic. Once it enters the arena and at the beginning of your action phase, amp 3. This could potentially get you, I think, like 6 value over time. The thing about this is you're gonna want to hold 3 cards the first time you play it with an Earth Blue. I think this is a lot more playable in Verdance than Florian. I'll explain why in a second. But Earth Blue into like a 0 cost spell for like what, 6, and then on your next turn. The thing about this is you want to play a mix of attacks where you can get some go again and actually get some value out of it potentially. But since it's only once per turn, it makes it a little bit hard. If it was Amp 3 the whole turn, like Channel Mount Heroic, now we'd start to get into some really crazy situations where you can play like Bramble Spark, give something go again somehow, and you play like multiple arcane effects and you start to get like that Channel Mount Heroic type feel with this card. But since it's only once per turn with the Amp 3, it makes it a little bit less good, but I think there's still a build that's going to utilize this very well. It's just time will tell on how people do it. Earth's Embrace is so good. It is 2 block, which is a little bit annoying, but the embodiment of Earth will immediately make it a 3 block if you have to block with it. Go again. At the beginning of your end phase, create an embodiment of Earth token. Then if you haven't banished an Earth card this turn, destroy this. So if you're playing more of a consistent Decompose build and you're trying to decompose, use your whole hand and then decompose sometime during it, this is very good in order to just consistently get that embodiment of Earth token. And you can stack embodiment of Earth tokens with stuff like Bearskin of the Millennium Tree. So the thing about Decompose is, though, most of the Decompose cards, I think actually all of them, decompose 3 cards, right? So that's a lot. So you have to constantly fill your grave, even more so than Levia. So this card might not stay around super long, but it is an aura Earth action. I mean, I think it's pretty good. I think it definitely gets Seas play. And then we have Seeds of Tomorrow. This card's really funny. As an additional cost to play this card, put a card from your arsenal on the bottom of your deck. Prevent the next 5 damage to be dealt to you this turn. This is a really, really good Oasis, right? 5 value. It has to be in your hand, obviously, so it makes it a little bit weird. But if we're in a super heavy arcane meta at some point, I think this card sees a lot of play in the Earth Heroes just because, it's a 2-card 5 block. But if you're wanting to cycle your arsenal anyway, then it's not that big a deal. Then we get to this card. This card's so funny. Obviously, there was more than one reason why some cards were banned, but when I saw this card initially, I immediately was like, yep, I am so glad that Tome of Aetherwind and Tome of Fiendal are banned now as of next week, because this card would have made those cards absolutely stupid in a Cilio. Instant pay 1, destroy this. Instant cards you play this turn get go again. So the reason that's important is if you play an instant card that already doesn't use up an action point but gets go again, since you gain that action point back, you actually gain an action point every time you play an instant. So you could do even a simple line like activate this off 1 resource, maybe off Tunic, right? If you're playing Tunic, then you play Sigil of Brilliance, gain an action point, so you're at 2 action points now. Then you could play Tome of Aetherwind, use an action point, draw 2 cards, play 2 more sigils, gain 3 action points, play another Tome of Aetherwind, draw 2 cards, then play a Tome of Fiendal using your 1 of 2 action points, draw 2 cards, gain life. You can instantly see the stupidity that would have happened with this card with those tomes. Yes, stuff has to line up, but it's not that hard, especially if you're stacking. It basically would have been like a Kano combo, but probably even worse depending on what you're doing. This card is super good, but there's some really funny lines you can do with this card that I already thought of. One was I'm not going to go through the whole line because it was a little complicated, but if you have multiple instant sigils and Blast to Oblivion, you're able to basically bounce cards. So play a Sigil of Brilliance, gain action point, go up to 2, play to Blast of Oblivion using 1 of your action points, and then in the reaction step, play another sigil. It doesn't have to be Brilliance, it could be Lightning, Sigil of Lightning, or whatever it is. Pick up the Sigil of Brilliance, draw a card, right? Play your second Blast of Oblivion, or play Sigil of Brilliance again, gain action point, play Blast of Oblivion, play another sigil. It's you can just pick up cards, and it's really funny. I think there's definitely some stuff to be explored with this card. It's out of all the legendaries, this is besides the Wizard Majestics, this is the one I'm most excited about. it's a really cool card, and it's Battle Worn 1, and it has Arcane Barrier 1. Like, this card literally does everything you want it to do. It gives you a good pop-off turn. It gives you AB1, Battle Worn 1. I think this is automatic in a Cilio, and this is potentially used in Aurora, depending on how your build looks with instance. Current funnel is very interesting. Lightning action attack. If the last action card you played this turn was lightning, this and the next action card you play this turn gets go again. This is really interesting to me because it's a 3-block blue for 2. If the last action card you played this turn was lightning, you know, this gets go again. So I'm gonna do this on the fly really fast because I think I can do it quick enough to where it's not too crazy. But if we go to the set, right, and we go to Rosetta, and then you go down to lightning cards, talent. I'm glad I can do this a little bit faster now. Type, action cards. Like, we look at the action cards in lightning, you know, you either have to play an attack with go again already or play something like a flash. Like, there's not a lot of options. This basically says if the last action card you play this turn was lightning, this and the next action card you play this turn gets go again. So what you'd want to essentially do with this card is play like a fry or something with go again, flittering charge, playing an instant on top of it. Then you play this, since you played that last turn, this gets go again. Then you can play something, you know, like a Blast to Oblivion. I think this card is actually a good connector card for a Cilio, and it could be pretty good for Aurora. This card's really interesting. It reminds me of not mechanically, I don't know, just like the filler spot. It reminds me of the 2-cost. It's totally blank in my head. I'm not gonna go look it up. But the 2-cost Shadow Runeblade card that says if you banish a card, this gets go again. Goodness gracious, can't remember the name. But it kind of fills that spot where, like, it's not an amazing attack value wise, but it's gonna help you continue your turn. I think that's what this does, right? And it's a 3-block blue. Like, you can't really beat that, right? So I think this card definitely probably goes in both just for the value that it can provide overall as a card. Then we have Electric Magnetism. I'm really going to like this card a lot. I want to be able to play this card in a Cilio because I think you can play, like, non-attack action sigils, like the Sigil of Fiendal and Sigil of other stuff is over an instant. It has good pairing with the boots. This just allows you to play, because it doesn't have go again, right? So you're able to still utilize like a 2-card handoff tunic with those sigils that maybe also, like, you know, you can just play it off. And I think this card, if you can gain action points in certain ways with the boots, or get go again in a different way, I think this card could help you do some really cool stuff. I don't know yet. It's a 1 for 5. It's basically like a Vela Flash a little bit without the fuse. But I think in a Cilio, you really want to play this card for the 3-block. It's a 1 for 5 and allows you to play your sigils more effectively and has some decent synergy with the boots. Gone a Flash is the most interesting one. I don't know why I can't wrap my head around this card. Someone in the comments below let me know what the point of this card is. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm saying, like, I don't get what you're trying to do with this card. When this attacks, the next time you play an instant card that's chain link, you may return this to its owner's hand. So you play this to play an instant card to then pick this back up, but it doesn't nullify, like, your turn, right? Because, like, if this somehow had go again, I guess is what you're trying to do. Like, I'm just not sure. I guess it's how many lightning cards you've played this turn, because a Cilio's weapon, right, basically reads, if we look at it really quick, I'm trying to think of how it could work in a Cilio. I think it is, I mean, that's where my brain's been going lately. You know, this says amp X for X is the number of lightning cards you've played this turn. So if you could somehow give it go again twice, I think it could be really good. I don't know. I'm really interested to see how this card works. Let me know down in the comments below. Channel Lightning Valley is so good. This card's going to be bonkers in Aurora, and I think it's even worth it potentially in a Cilio, depending on how your build is. Drawing cards is fun. You could probably get the 2 draws out of this pretty easily, depending on, especially in Aurora, when you're pitching to her ability and pitching to grasp. You could get 2 lightning cards on the second time through pretty consistently, I think, in my opinion. This card's just really good. It gets you a lot of good value. It doesn't block, so there's that, but I think it's really good. High voltage is very interesting as a Majestic. It's just amp 1 blue pitch, but it doesn't block. This is definitely more of an Cilio card, I think. It does help because this essentially an Cilio, if you can activate Bullsar, reads block or amp 2, because this is going to give you amp 1 onto his staff and amp 1 on itself. So it's basically an amp 2 blue for 0 cost. So I can't see why it's good. I'll probably end up trying it out, but it's a little bit interesting. Is that amp 2 going to be worth a non-block blue, right? So there's that. Then we get into face Purgatory. When this defends together with an attack action card and a non-attack action card, the attacking hero discard a card and you draw a card. So this is like the Runeblade-ish Scallion Flesh Bag. This is pretty good. It's a little situational, right? You basically have to give up, 3, 6, 8 block potentially. Or if they're both 2 blocks, maybe you give up, 6 block in order to basically replace one of the cards you just blocked with. So you're able to get some decent block value and then also draw a card. The weird thing is like you have to defend with an attack action card and a non-attack action card, right? Like, if the reason that's weird to me is that means your hand's already pretty balanced as a Runeblade, right? Because as Runeblade, you want an attack action, non-attack action most of the time. Maybe not in Florian as much, but this card is very interesting because you're basically getting rid of what maybe is a good hand or a decent hand to have a random draw, but it does make them discard a card, which is kind of the whole point, right? So I get it. This card's really interesting. I want to see if this sees play. I'm trying to think of what it replaces. It just replaces like Crown, right? Crown of Providence or something like that. I don't like, but there is Blade Break too, so it is the 2 blocks. So you don't lose the block value, which is nice. Snuff Out, Runeblade attack action. When this hits a hero, you may destroy an aura you control. If you do, they discard a card. This is so good. If you're making rune chants, right? This is especially good in Viscerai. I need to start thinking of Viscerai with some of these Runeblade cards. Like, because if you play a non-attack action at this, it'll make a rune chant on play with Viscerai, but the rune chant won't pop, right? Like, you'll be ending on a rune chant. And then you basically tell the opponent, like, that one rune chant I just made is going to cost you an entire card if this hits. So you basically, it's almost like Consuming Volition. This forces you to block, which I think Viscerai kind of wants, right? In some cases. So I think Snuff Out's very good in Viscerai. I'm really interested to see how this works out in Florian or Aurora, because I don't know how often those heroes are going to be ending on a rune chant like Viscerai normally does. So if you can find a way where you end on a rune chant consistently, I think this card's pretty good. But if you don't, then you're basically destroying an aura that you might want to keep on the board. Although this does have very good synergy with Arcane Cussing. It has very good synergy with Arcane Cussing mainly, so that is true. Then we have Machinations of Dominion. I always have trouble saying that word. The next Runeblade attack action card you play this turn gets Overpower, and if you've played or created an aura this turn, this gets Go Again. So it will give your attack Go Again potentially and Overpower. Can be really good for closing out games. Really good if you're playing some Mauvrian Skies maybe in your deck and you're trying to get those rune chants on hit. This could be really good, and it's a 3-block blue. I think this is like an automatic include in pretty much every single Runeblade. I don't know why you wouldn't run this in every single Runeblade. This card is Runeblade's best one, and again, we have more vampires. Eventually, they're going to come out of the vampire set. Runeblade action, 0 cost, yellow, 3-block. If you've dealt arcane damage this turn, you may play this as though it were an instant. The next time a Runeblade attack action card you control hits a hero this turn, look at their hand and choose a card. They discard it. So, like, if they take 1 ping of arcane and it's your last attack and they're like, okay, no on hits, doesn't matter. You play this in speed, they discard a card, and they took the hit that they just did. So, card's insanely good. And if you play it as an instant, it gains an action point. Artwork is sick. This is an automatic include in most every Runeblade. I think every Runeblade. It's so good. Really, really good card. This card's gonna piss off a lot of people very quickly. Then we have Haunting Rendition. It's an instant Runeblade block for 4, which is pretty good. Instant discard this, prevent the next 2 damage that will be dealt to you this turn. The next time you prevent damage this way, create a rune chant token. So it's 3 value on its instant and it's 4 value on its block. I think this card's pretty good, especially if you're playing a slower OTK Florian build. I think this card's right up the alley. This is what you want because you can block the physical and you don't have to side it out in the arcane matchups, right? You can also use it as an instant speed 3 value card. So I think it's really good. This card, Ether Bindings of the Third Age, it's so funny that we're going to have a wizard that probably doesn't play Metacarpus Nodes or Stormstriders. I will actually be surprised. Verdance might play Stormstriders. I don't think a Cilio plays either one because they're going to be playing the Lightning Greaves and then this card. Instant, destroy this until the end of turn. Whenever an aura permanent you control with Sigil in its name leaves the arena, amp 1. So that previous situation I gave you with Lightning Greaves with Blast to Oblivion and Sigil of Brilliance, if you could like change, if you basically had 2 Blast to Oblivions in hand and 2 Sigils in hand, instant speed Lightning Sigils, you're gonna start doing some dumb stuff because you're gonna start. And let's say one was a Brilliance and you draw a card, because every time you play a Lightning card down, you can potentially amp 1 from Volzar, right? So like if you play 2 Blast to Oblivions and 2 Lightning instants, and then let's say a 5th card, right, that's also a Lightning card with Go Again, like Fry, and you draw off a Brilliance. As you're doing that and picking up those Brilliances and putting them down, you're going to get amp 2 from picking up one of those Sigils twice off Blast to Oblivion. Then at some point, you're going to activate Volzar probably at the end of that chain and amp 5 from the 5 Lightning cards. So all of a sudden, you could potentially be playing like a 0-cost spell for like amp 7, amp 8, and it has Battle Worn 1. Like this card is going to be able to do some cool stuff. Now, I want to see how many times we can pick up a Sigil. Etchings of Arcana or whatever it is also a good one. Like if you could, pick them all up with etchings off of like an amp 7 and then put them all back down at the end of your turn, you could just do some really funny stuff because you gaining action points off of Lightning Greaves. It's just some really cool stuff. This is a really good arm piece. Really excited about this one. Then we have Destructive Aethertide. I love this card. I wanted Wizard to have more disruption in their arcane effects, and this is exactly up our alley. Deal 1 arcane damage to any target. If this deals more than 1 damage to a hero, destroy a card in their arsenal. It's not like game breaking, but they needed more Mind Warp type cards to force more interaction with our opponents, and I think this one's a perfect example of that. Eternal Inferno I also think is very, very good. Deal 4 arcane to any target, 1 for 4, 3 block. If this deals more than 4 damage, banish it. You may play it next turn. So if you can amp this in any way, basically tell your opponent like, hey, you're going to give me a 5 or a 6 card hand next turn. And decks like a Cilio, I think, are going to be able to utilize 5 and 6 card hands a little bit more than other wizards have been able to in the past. So, it's a little bit more, your opponent has to respect it a little bit more, which forces more interaction, which is what you want to be doing. Then we have Sigil of Ether. At the beginning of your action phase, destroy this. When this leaves the arena, deal 1 arcane damage to any target. If this is dealt this way, amp 1. So this is, this is really good. I really enjoyed this card because it allows you to, it just has really good value. It's a blue Sigil wizard instant. It's not a lightning instant, which would be even better, but it basically gets you 2 value, and it can help when it leaves the arena. If you bring it back with a different card, there's other cards in the set that can do that. I think this is one of your better Sigils. Like this one, Sigil of Lightning and Sigil of Brilliance are probably your 3 best Sigils that I can think of off the top of my head. I think it definitely goes in a Cilio specifically for sure. And then we have Mental Block. This is a 2-block blue at Wizard, which says instant discard this, prevent the next 2 damage that dealt to you this turn. The first time you prevent damage this way, create a Ponder. This is Majestic. This is very interesting. It's either a 2-block or a 2 prevention, and it's Majestic. I don't mind the card itself. The card's fine. The artwork is very weird. But like this being Majestic as a blue, this doesn't speak to me as Majestic power level, but it is what it is. Then we have Arcanite Fortress. I thought that yesterday from the traffic I was seeing on Twitter, this was the least talked about card, and it should be. This card's block value is equal to the number of equipment you control with Arcanite in their name. Spell Void X, where X is the number of equipment you control with Arcanite in their name, and has Guardwell. So essentially, if you run this with Arcanite Skullcap, it is a block 2, Spell Void 2 chess piece. That's very, very good. I think that's like super solid if you're wanting to like play these more kind of fatiguey, grindy games. And as we go on in the game, like they're gonna have to be careful if they ever print anything else that Arcanite in its name, because all of a sudden this can become a block 3 Spell Void 3, which would just be nuts. But I love the thematics of it. I love Arcanite Skullcap. That was the OG pricey legendary, so like all the old school gamers probably Flesh and Blood players probably really enjoyed seeing this card. But this card's pretty good. Like, you know, when you pair this with Arcanite Skullcap, between your two equipment pieces, you have, you know, 2 block on this. If you time it right, 3 block on Arcanite Skullcaps, that's 5. Then you have AB1 minimum on Arcanite Skullcap, Spell Void 2 on this, and then potentially AB3 on Arcanite Skullcap, depending on if you have less life than your opponent. So I think those two together pair for really, really good defensive value. So super excited about that. Then we have Cut Through the Facade, generic action. This can't be defended by auras, which is very interesting. When this hits a hero, you may destroy an aura you control. This is just a good anti-aura attack, right? It's a 7 popper. This is very interesting into... I mean, most auras in Illusionists are instants. I think all of them are pretty much, so this doesn't do a ton for that, but other than being a popper. But it's just another good 7-power popper. I think, you know, it's really good. And it also has pirates, and pirates, we're eventually going to get a pirate set. We're going to get a pirate set at some point, or a set with pirates in it, and we're going to get a vampire set at some point. I'm already thinking about it. This card is so funny. It is a 10 block, 10 power, 3 cost attack. When the attacker defends, your hero gets -2 intellect during their next end phase. This is such a cool game finisher. Like, can you imagine playing this off of like an Earthlore Surge, like a 4-card hand? This is a 4-card 15 or 14 or whatever. Yeah, 15, 14, right? Like, it's super funny. Your opponent's gonna have to like give like their whole hand anyway, and then you getting -2 intellect. Like, yes, your next offensive turn isn't crazy, but like, I don't know. This card is really interesting to me, and I'm excited to watch people play it. And also, they clarified this in the notes. With Levia, if you play this card and then transform into Levia Consumed, that -2 intellect does not apply to Levia Consumed. So she'll be able to just play a 3 for 10 and then flip into Consumed. So she just had a super good value play. Or you defend for 10 and then flip, you know, at some point. But I think it's only attack is where that's going to matter. But regardless, this card's really cool. I'm really excited to watch people play it. It's similar to like Cosmic Awakening. Like, you just want to put it in your deck. Then we have Call to the Grave. This card's really interesting. One, this is hinting at Necromancer. James White has said that Necromancer is in the chute. It's being created right now. We don't know if we're going to get it next year. I would assume, if you made me guess, that we're going to get Necromancer probably into next year. That's my guess. I think that's pretty realistic. But search your deck for a card, put it into your graveyard, then shuffle. Whenever we get Necromancer, this card is going to be an automatic 3 of. However, right now, it's very interesting. It has some applicability in Assassin, even though it is a 2 block. You can get a Leave No Witnesses in your grave really fast, but if you see it late game, it's kind of pointless. This is, I guess, good if you're really trying to hyperspeed your Decompose stuff. If this was a 3-block blue, I think this would be so good. But I get why it's not, because it has Go again. I don't know. This card, like, I see the applicability right now within this set of being good, like to hyperspeed your Decompose, but is it good enough for a 2-block blue? I would say no, but it's hinting at Necromancer, right? That's what this is going towards, and I can't wait till we go to play Necromancer. Necromancer is my favorite, like, RPG class next to like Rogue in any game ever. So if we can get a good Necromancer, I will be happy. Then we have Truce. This is a 2-cost 3-block blue that says, when this enters the arena, choose an opponent. At the beginning of each end phase, destroy this. At the beginning of their end phase, destroy this, and you each gain 3 life. So if they don't attack you, then you both gain 3 life. When you or a card you control is the target of an attack they control, destroy this and draw a card. So you get another card value on your turn. So, you know, you play this off a 2-card hand on your turn, draw up to 4, choose your opponent in a 1v1 match. And you say, hey, either don't attack me when we both gain 3 life, which gives you tempo, or if they do attack you, then all of a sudden you draw into a 5-card hand, and you can block more effectively. I think this card's pretty good. I don't know. Some people are hating on this card. I love this card. I think it's really, really cool. It gets you a lot of value. It does cost 2 to play, so you have to hold 2 cards, but I don't know. I think this card's definitely playable in very slow builds where you're trying to build to something. And in UPF, this card's disgusting, which is really funny, which I'm glad. I'm glad we're seeing some slight UPF support. but that's why it says choose an opponent. I think it might have even meant for UPF a little bit, but regardless, if I'm playing like an OTK Florian build, this might be worth it. It might be because you're just getting more value, right? So that's just my thought. And then I'm not going to go all through all of them, but Widow Veil, Widow Back, Widow Claw, and Widow Web Crawler assassin equipment. Holy crap, they gave us such good equipment. Oh my goodness. We have Arcane Barrier 1, Spell Void 1 on all of these. So if you ran the full suite, you would have AB 4, Spell Void 4. Someone let me know in the comments down below. I need to look at something in the release notes. I'm pretty sure you could pitch to AB, and then when damage resolves, then you Spell Void. So if somebody was doing like a big Unga Bunga turn against you, like with a high amp attack spell, you could prevent 4 of it and then pop all these and prevent 4 more. I'm pretty sure that's how that works. Regardless, these cards look sick. Like, these look so cool. Also, where is this in Wraith? That's what I want to know. Like, maybe this isn't Outsiders, like down in the pits is what my assumption is. I want to know what clan this is or what they're doing, but this looks awesome. I hope we see more of this later on. I'm assuming this is Outsiders. It looks like the pits, but like, who is this in Wraith? I want to know the lore behind this. It's so sick. But these also come in cold foil. 100% getting those. Hopefully they're not too hard to get because every assassin player is going to want a set of these. So they're going to be a pretty penny in my opinion. So, and then we have a lot of the expansion slot cards. I think the ones we haven't gone over. This is actually a really good card for Betsy. Drink them under the table. 4 cost Betsy specialization. When this attacks, you may wager with them. The winner draws a card, and the other hero discards a card. If you can give this overpower, it's getting 4 for 9 overpower. How does Betsy read? 100%. I always forget Betsy, so apologize for doing this on the fly. Whenever an attack you control wagers, you may pay 2. If you do, it gets +1 overpower. So if you don't have another way of giving it overpower or dominate or whatever, this is basically a 6 for 9 on hit draw card. They discard a card, which isn't crazy, but I don't know. This is a cool way to, 1, close out games, 2, have a little bit more disruption to Betsy, which is really nice. I think it's really cool, and especially if you use this with like money where your mouth is, I think you could do some really cool stuff. So there's that. And that's pretty much it. We got the Dust from Fertile Fields, another Draconic Illusionist Ash. I don't know what they're building to this, but it's cool thematically. And then we have some Illusionist equipment for New Moon, in my opinion, is really, really good. And then Regrow Shock, also Earth Runeblade, Lightning Incense. So this is, what is this? Earth Runeblade Lightning. So this is both sides, I guess. How does this work exactly? Earth Runeblade action and Lightning instant. Earth Runeblade, that's Florian. Lightning is not Florian. How does this work? Can you play like one side of this card? I'm confused. Let me know in the comments down below on that one. I hadn't looked at that one yet, and I'm not going to sit here and try to think about it. But yeah, so overall, I'm excited about all these heroes. I'm really excited about the wizard side of things. Yeah, Runeblade, 1, I don't own Spellbound Creepers or Grasp the Arcanite anymore, so it's going to be a little harder for me to really play that class without spending $300, which I don't want to do. But also the wizards are just really scratching my brain a lot more. So I'm really excited for that. But yeah, let me know what your thoughts are. Let me know what your favorite cards were. I wanted to try to give, normally I don't do like big, just card by card talking. But because this set was different where all the good cards were released on the same day, very haphazardly in a way, I wanted to try to give people a one-stop shop on where to look at the cards. So hopefully you enjoyed this. If you did, please leave a like, comment, or subscribe. If not, me, it's totally fine. Go to Nerd Creator, leave a like, comment, subscribe on their stuff. Let's get more people seeing this game. And I'll see y'all next time on TCG Talk. Thank y'all so much.